I wish we had an amazing Isengard Game of Thrones, intro,
Hmm.
but we don't. We don't. Apparently, that show's too serious, too self-serious. We can't extract anything useful from it.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
high art. That's what this episode was.
no, seriously. Oh yeah, so we are here to talk Game of Thrones, The House of Dragon, episode 3. I just finished it like an hour ago, and a couple hours ago actually. So it's still really fresh. I'm still trying to parse and understand what I watched. But I do, however, remember a suggestion, a proposal of incest, right? I might be misremembering, but I feel like he said to Viserys to betrothed. He wanted. Oh, okay. I
I
was
was
like,
trying to make
what's
my camera
your camera?
be focused.
Right.
Yeah, he did suggest that to engage Aegon to Rhaenyra,
Yes. Right.
but that's what the Targaryens do in George R. R.
Oh,
Martin's
okay.
world,
Okay.
right?
So they're just
Like
they're just incestuous then.
yeah,
It was.
Danny's parents were brother and sister and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Interesting. I I don't know why that really struck out to me, but that was kind of crazy.
I mean, it was another aspect of like literal children trying to be married off to people.
Um,
But
but we
Viserys
are we
said
are
no.
what are we, two and a half years in, like the time jump. This one is about 2.5 years
She's
from
17. They
7 and 10. Yes.
yeah. Oh my god, I hate when Martin does that. Come on, like
7 and 10. Get
oh
it
my
right.
god, it's like oh my
So
god,
she
it's like
yeah, she was
Sir with the E.
right. She
Okay,
was
okay, bro.
15, right? In episode 2. So she's 17 here, which would make um Allison about 17 as well.
17 or 18, yeah.
Yeah, and she is now a mother and
Seem to be twice.
soon to be, right? Okay. We
Hmm.
gonna unpack that.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's just what they set up in the last episode, like
Right.
um and it continues the sort of like yeah, it's interesting. Like Alicent is more passive this episode than
Yes,
she
very
was in the
much.
previous ones. It could be because she's pregnant, it could be that she's a mother, it could be that she feels torn, I guess. That's what they're trying to get between like her dad being like, we've got to put Aegon on the throne, and then
Right.
both her husband being wishy-washy on the subject but wanting to make his daughter happy,
Is- Yeah,
and
yeah, and I
then
think
of course her ex-best
her
friend.
friend, right? So I think all of that is just, I think that's what they're trying to pass through in the episode, is that this is what Allison is going through. Let's unpack Viserys for a little bit, because this is the worst his hair has been. First of all, we'll just go. I'm just gonna
I'm,
go ahead and throw
I
that
mean,
out.
there's bad hair just across the board. Like
Listen,
it's
I think
wig.
we can do an episode of just hair, a complete episode of just hair. No, no, but I give Viserys, right, a pass, because he's going through a lot. He is stressed out, and I feel like there is his hair is the indication of stress.
That's fair. That's fair. It's definitely better than the Valerian like wigs. They are like
Yeah. Oh my
dire.
god, those are just horrible.
Uh,
Like, no, those are terrible.
yeah,
Those are terrible. They need a black person to do their hair.
it's just really bad.
No,
It's
it's
yeah.
bad.
Anyway, we can talk about the
Yeah,
Valerian
when
later.
we get to
Yeah,
that point.
I think Viserys is the most interesting character in this episode. I guess.
I think the first time in 3 episodes, yes, I can agree with that. I think his I think what made him interesting to me is just how he's dealing with everything he has to go through, right? He's wishy-washy about, oh, I finally have a son, which he's always wanted. The reason he killed his wife in episode 1 is
Mm-hmm.
this, so the son is the
He's like
is his
chasing
thing,
it.
right? So he's finally gotten it, and before we get here in episode 1, he names his daughter the heir, his heir to the throne, takes it away from his brother. So that's like he's done big things to put her in this position, but here he is now with a son, a male heir, or possibly a male
Mm.
heir. Um, his and everyone is seeing it. Everyone is expecting something from him, and because he has that male heir, now his daughter is looking to everyone is like, okay, great. Now, if we never wanted to marry your daughter in the first place because you didn't have a son, now I have, like, let me tie my kingdom and my uh, uh, uh let me tie my
The future of
what's
my
the
kingdom, my
right to your
dynasty.
yes, let me tie that to your daughter now, because okay, I'm if anyone that connects with a Targaryen right now would be, you know, successful. So that's the way to do it. So now he has to marry his daughter off, or potentially marry his daughter off. He has to somehow apologize to her, or just, you know, this is a dad thing, right? This is a parent thing,
I
where
mean, it's
he
definitely a parent thing if you married your daughter's best friend. Like,
yeah, and you have to explain it to her. But I mean, you have to, and then you don't. You're like, I'm your dad. I make all the decisions, so be okay with it. And but he's not that kind of. He is that kind of dad, and he's not. In the last episode, he showed that he kind of wasn't that kind of dad. But here he is, like, you have to do what tradition requires of you to do. Go get married. Go get kids. I think the thing he says on their ride to the hunt is, make me a grandsire, grandfather.
yeah, I
And
mean, it's. I mean, what makes I think Viserys interesting in this episode is you definitely feel him being pulled in 15 directions, and he's not a person with like strong convictions. Besides, he kind of like wants to get along. He's a people pleaser, right?
yes,
But
that he is.
without strong convictions, right? So he's occasionally quite capable of giving Rhaenyra like very good advice, like you should get married and have a kid because it does. Like if she has her own son,
Hmm.
then her claim is stronger,
Is
right?
stronger, yes.
Right. Like so, there's like lots of political moves that Rhaenyra can make to just make it easier for her to be the heir.
For
And I
her or for him?
both, right?
Right.
Like if she strengthens her claim, it makes it, it takes some of the pressure off him. It's easier for
Of
him
him,
to say
yes.
no, right?
You're
To
right.
people who are like, you should make Aegon. It's like, no, Rhaenyra has this husband, she's got her own kid, like we're set, like the dynasty set. Aegon
Correct.
can just do his Aegon business, right? But but of course he almost abandons her because he's also this believer in prophecy, which is I'm not overly fond of like that addition to the character in the
Hmm.
show, but it did give him opportunity for some really intense CG animal violence. Where I
Right.
was like, that is a lot. But I mean, the
No.
character I think was well portrayed and well acted in this episode.
Yes.
Like you really feel the just like anxiety. I mean, as a people pleaser myself, I can definitely feel Viserys's like being pulled in 15
Pain.
directions at
Right.
once and his pain. Both his legitimate pain and sort of like the situation he's put himself in by his complete
Hmm.
lack of like conviction, like what
Right.
he wants to do as king besides just be king, which he doesn't even
Right. And
necessarily like want to do in a strong way. Like it's like what he does, but he's not like I'm gonna rule for some reason or accomplish.
right. And then if you add, so his daughter's thing, his thing with Aegon and his daughter, and then you add the war that his brother decided to start off a whim for his own reasons, on top of the fact that they're losing and they kind of need help, because it's a bad show if they lose, if the king's brother dies to the crab feeder, right? So it's just a bunch of things, like he's really going through it. And
Mhm.
again, if the hair, amazing, right? Just to show his stress. um I did that blowout between Renera and him at the in the tent, I thought was amazing
Mhm.
acting from both of them.
Oh yeah.
um It's sad though. We're gonna like in a couple of episodes, maybe
Yeah, I
two
thought it
more.
was going to be the next one, but apparently we get one more, at least one
Yeah,
more.
it's really sad that in 2 episodes we're not gonna see young Rhaenyra, the actress, young Rhaenyra anymore. Just thinking about that, it's like, yo, this the next group, right? Older Rhaenyra, older Allison, they have a lot to do. But I'm not nervous because I think they can handle it. I
I
don't
mean,
know. I
I don't
think
know
they
the
can.
actresses. I mean, all I know is that the Allison actress looks like exactly like the younger
Right,
Allison. Like
right.
that's the main thing.
No, that is insane.
Like I
Yeah, that is insane.
this might be a I don't know, a counter opinion, but I like against the grain. But I did not like the acting was great. The acting is always wonderful, but I didn't
Hmm.
like Rhaenyra in this episode. I felt like I get the decisions that they made, which is to
Right.
like she goes full petulant teenager in this,
Yes, one
which
hundred
is
percent.
it's completely fair and maybe realistic, but there's so little real estate to like establish important things. It's like, why would you want Rhaenyra to be the heir in this episode? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I totally get it.
it's like a
Um,
step backwards from where she was in the previous episode, where she did that like badass thing with Damon and was like, "I'm the heir. What are you gonna do? I'm a burnt like come from like they took that and then it just feels like Rhaenyra has gone nowhere, and in this and the game there's no real reason for me to be like I want to support Rhaenyra or like people. Why would people support Rhaenyra? Right? Like there's clear reasons for why people would support Aegon's claim, and this episode does a good job of setting them up. The High Towers, the Lannisters, like all of these people are like starting to line up behind Aegon. But like, why would you support Rhaenyra?
you're right. There's zero. Yeah, they kind of went back on her progress, right? They kind of went back on her progress and everything they set up. Um, kind of went back on that. But I think it's also growing pains.
Yeah. I think
You know.
it's a legitimate characterization choice. Like
Hmm.
I think it grows out of the situation they put the character in. I just don't
Right.
like it. Like I'm just like one. I
That's
think
fair.
the real estate is too small. Like they gotta. There's so much stuff to do. Like
Right.
there are
Then to
critical
spend,
characters
yeah,
that
then
get
to
one
spend
mention
it.
in this episode,
Right,
and
right.
so like
Oh, you talking about Leon?
him, but he at least appears. No,
Right.
the son of the guy who gives him advice. So that you know how that guy says
Oh
he
yeah,
has
yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
sons, the guy with the
Strongest
bad
guy.
foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's important. The son that's like mentioned briefly. So like we still have like I think he's the one who like looks at Rhaenyra when she comes in with the boar. I think that's him.
That it
But
might be, but that was interesting because I was like, why is he long staring at her? Everything happened right, and then
yeah,
he just happened to long stare at her, like stare at her so long. That's crazy. But yeah, that was insane. Let's unpack that moment, right? The boar moment. I think her anger just boiled over.
mm-hmm.
That was it. It was very simple. She was angry and she just took it out on the poor board. That was
A lot of violence against the CG animals in this episode.
right. But what about him?
Mm.
What is going on there?
What do you think, Mo?
I don't want to think it. I don't want to think it because
Like I mean I know because I read the book, and
right.
the like what happens in the book is like so foundational to the story that I'm
Mhm.
not sure they're going to change. Like it's not a thing that I think they can change without like
Okay,
just
so that's he and
fundamentally.
her.
Yeah, so
He
I
and
don't want
her.
to say anything
Okay,
because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
that's fine.
But what do you
That's
think?
fine. But it looks like they're setting them up to do something.
Yeah, maybe.
Hmm?
So, but I think the Kristen Cole actor was pretty good. I guess the problem is just like this actress looks so young. Like she's 19, but she looks like 14, and the character is
Yes,
supposed to be 17. And I'm
right.
just like, I just feel it just all of that stuff just makes
It's
me
all
feel
cringy.
gross.
I know. It really is. But you know what though? At least it's not her against Viserys, because that just is the worst thing to look at to me.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Um, I think so. We get the Lannisters in this one,
Mm-hmm. The, the the
twins, right?
the twins. Yeah. Was it actually the same actor twice? I think it was.
I think it was as well.
Yeah, I mean they're both important characters, like going forward,
Right,
right? Like
right.
the brother who's on the small council, keep an eye on him,
Hmm.
and then the older brother is also important. Like I mean, the Lannisters are just important, and they are assholes, just like they are in Game of Thrones. Like
Correct. Nothing changes.
nothing
Well,
changes.
not a lot changes, right? Um, so I did appreciate the Rhaenyra's like. Okay, I think we're done with the. Okay, let's talk about the hunt itself, right? So, like everyone's, well, we've seen this white stag. It's the stag, and I think at that point, that's when, to me, Viserys is like, shit. If we do kill this white stag, it's like prophecy, and it's now I have to put Aegon on the
Yes.
throne, right? But I think when he didn't see the white stag,
That's when he decided.
he was like, but he's so weak. Yeah, to
I
stop
mean,
it
it's
twice.
also like I don't know. Like I mean,
Super
I find that
dangerous.
kind of like I caught something and you shoot it now hunting, which does a version
Hmm.
of it does still exist today. To just be
Yes.
weird in general, like I mean, I am morally opposed to hunting, so I'll just lay
Hmm.
it out here. But just like in particular, like I can't wrap my mind around like somebody catches something for you and it's like
Right.
kill it.
I
Like that's
think
kind
that,
of weird,
right, it is. How did Rob die? Rob got skewered by the boar, right?
right?
That
But they
he was on.
didn't like he what
They
the
didn't
boar wasn't
show it.
caught. Like
Right.
Robert's not that kind of guy. Like Robert
Yeah,
was
Rob is more, like I will
yeah,
go hunt. Okay, so because he's
closer to
more
what happened to Kristen Cole and
Renera.
Rhaenyra, but except
Right.
bigger and like a giant. And he was drunk
Right.
and
Of course he was.
poisoned, possibly.
Um. So okay. So now let's. I think what's left is, so the episode actually opens with the start of the war,
Is that
right?
the start? I think that was
Or
just like a
at some
battle.
point. Okay, it's just a battle where he thinks he Doctor Who thinks he's winning because dragon, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, they have fire arrows and it's gonna hurt my little baby dragon, and and they
I
hide
guess
in
it hurt
caves.
the dragon. I don't know. That was weird.
Listen, it happened.
He got shot with an arrow, which is why he left. Like that made
Oh
sense.
yeah, he did get hit as well. Like that was the third time he got hit in this episode. Jesus, Gary Stu. But
Well, we can get to that.
oh man, I was watching it like, huh.
Yeah.
But if you know what, but no. So that happened at the start, and we we get to the war council proper, right?
Mhm.
Where
So we're talking about just the stuff in the stepstones now.
yes, the steps and stuff.
Okay.
We get to that, and I think it's Corlys, his brother,
And his son.
Corlys' son. Yes, they're talking about what they need to do, strategy, right? And Corlys' brother, I forget his name, Vayman.
Vaynor, I think. Vaynor,
Yeah,
Valnor, something like that.
something with a V.
Yeah.
Says if his own brother isn't going to help him, I'm not about to lose my life here. We've lost a lot of boats. We've lost men. We've lost money to this endeavor. Let's call it. Corlys, I think why do you think Corlys was so keen on continuing this quest?
I think.
Outside of the go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Mo.
No, outside of the fact that he wants to make sure that he ensures, like, he shores up his breadwinner, right? That port or whatever whatever they're attacking. Outside of that, why is he so keen on continuing this? Or
Well,
is that his main reason?
I think of all of the people that are involved, like Corlys has the same argument he makes to Daemon, like we got to prove ourselves, we have to take everything, right? Because we're like the realm's second son. But also, like strategically speaking, he has the most reason for this to be like important to him, right? Because he makes all his money via boats.
The sea snake.
And like if you look at the map, if you look at the map of Westeros, like you can't do anything like to the south, right? If the stepstones are closed off to you. And so like it makes sense that he's like, no, we're gonna do this. And Daemon being like, I like killing and I gotta prove myself, that kind of stuff. Right. Like I think Corlys has like the most legitimate reason to, like, strategically speaking, to want to do this. I do not understand how they framed this as like why they're losing, because like so they run into the caves and the dragons show up. Okay, so but whenever they come out of the caves, don't they just get, I don't know. There's like a lot of questions I have about that, but I get it. Like I think the Valerians are the most interesting part of this episode, I think. Like and they get that, like, this is the episode where I think you like get to see how cool Corlys Valerian is. Like, and like both in the meeting where he's like, his brother's like, he says his brother's like, you better shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like we're not, it's like, this
brother,
is not
you're not about to start a meeting. I will kill you.
And his son was like, we're gonna do, like, seems to have a good head on his shoulders,
right?
Like strategically, right. And yeah, so the Valerians I think come off in this episode I think pretty well.
Yes, I think out of all the houses, I think the Valerians are the ones that make it out of here looking cool.
Yeah, and the actor's given more to do, right? Like I think we both said, like, in the first episode he wasn't given much to do, it was a little flat. Better in the second episode, and I think he's again like better here. And like he's a very important character, like, going forward. So this makes me excited. I'm like, okay, like we're in it for some really interesting stuff, and there's like a lot of material for that actor to work with going forward. So I'm excited to see where they take him.
Now let's talk about this guy here, right? Doctor Who for a second.
Oh my God.
Gary Stu. Outside of almost killing a messenger, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, like the first thing that you just like, it's like, come on, like, what did that guy was just doing his job. Like, why are you shooting the UPS man? Like, come on, like look.
It's like being mad at the Amazon delivery guy and not Jeff Bezos. Like, really?
Or even being mad at like the guy who serves you your divorce papers. It's not his fault that you're getting divorced.
Like, but then he decides to do what he does, sacrifice himself so he could bring them out. And in my head, I'm like, they can run right back into the caves if that's the thing, right? They really could run back to the caves, but I guess not. I guess it was.
But couldn't you just sit outside the caves and wait for them to come? Like I don't understand the cave thing. Like I just don't. It just bothers me.
I think it was also the guys that were on the ledge, the arrow guys. So you have to watch out for them as well, which makes no sense. But the craziest part of all of it, right, is, first of all, crab feeder guy. Why would you send everybody out for one guy?
I don't know. And like, why does the crab feeder like look like a Batman villain? Like, I don't understand.
He like the Riddler from
like he's got this Batman mask. He's all burnt, and it's like, what is? Like, what? Like, why is this? Like, he's just a dude. Like, I don't understand why he needs to, like, I mean, I guess they're trying to like make it seem as badass as possible. Like, but I just like do not understand why he needs to look like an orc from Lord of the Rings in order to be intimidating. It's like a weird choice. I think the battle was cool. Like, as soon as I realized, I was like, they're gonna do this? Like, he's just gonna like run. And okay, I was like, okay, I was just like, I'm committed. It looks cool. It was well shot.
He runs through and kills at least 50 people, dodges 500 arrows
until he doesn't.
Gets hit twice, just 2, but still manages to get enough strength to kill crab cake guy.
Off screen for reasons.
Right, because everything else that they showed, that's the one you decide. No, we literally started the show with what they did in episode 1. I saw somebody's ball meat on a slab, but
But I don't know.
yeah,
It was weird because it was like one part, like it was tonally weird for me until the very end. Like it was initially like, okay, so this is like a video game sequence, a quick time event, but then they suddenly like switch into Jon Snow getting trampled in that like oh no, war is scary moment, and then it's like no wait, it's a giant battle of like Game of Thrones, a well shot one,
right.
like
It did look good
and looked good. Like the only like if I was the director of this episode, and particularly the VH, I would be like so mad at Bezos, like so mad because literally it's like so beautiful. I was like, man, it's beautiful, but wow, Lord of the Rings looks so much better.
Yeah.
It's like they put so much work into it, and it looked like gorgeous, like particularly compared to like the Game of Thrones battles. Like the Game of Thrones battles are always like really shot and well directed, but like you could see the seams sometimes, right? Like, and particularly in the last couple seasons, but even like the really famous ones like Battles of the Bastards or whatever, like you could tell they only had a certain amount of people, they only had a certain but it was like very constrained, but this did not feel that way.
No, it didn't. It felt real.
It felt like a movie quality battle.
Yeah, definitely did. So that happens. He's the victor, or they're the victors. We're back in King's Landing, right?
Doesn't it end with him having chopped the dude?
No, it does. It does end with him. It does end with him. You're right. But I thought, aren't we back in King's Landing though?
There's no. So I think the last scene in King's Landing is like Viserys being like, Rhaenyra, you've got to get married.
Oh yeah. And
I won't tell you who to marry.
Yeah. Even though, and then he kind of does in a weird parent way apologize to Rhaenyra for marrying her best friend.
Sort of, yeah. It
was the most half-assed parent apology ever. I laughed, I chuckled. I was like, this is exactly how a parent would apologize. So all in all, how did you feel about this episode?
I thought it was a step backwards.
Interesting.
I just did not like the Rhaenyra stuff. I felt the show is going to live or die. I think there's two ways to approach this story, which is to try to get you to either pick Team Blue or Team Red, or later it's Team Green or Team Black, right? And then some people will like Rhaenyra, and some people will like the Hightower / Aegon. Or there's the you like Rhaenyra and want Rhaenyra to succeed. And they seem to have, at least for now, picked that pack, where Rhaenyra is the focal point character, right? And that's who the White Hart showing up, right? Kind of is just it's okay, she is mini Dany, okay, cool. But I just was well, why does anyone want to support her? Why am I watching? I get, I so understand the Team Petulant thing. I just think it outstays its welcome in this episode. I wish there was more forward momentum besides kind of at the very end of this episode. But then the trailer made it seem are we actually just not moving forward? Is she fought back to the Petulant thing again? I just think there's not a lot of time for them to set up really crucial things and to make you really care that Rhaenyra becomes queen. I did not feel that. I wanted to because I love the actress. I think she's great. All right, and the Hightowers do a great job seeming insufferable, right? But at the same time, I'm why would you if you were just some lord, why would you want this petulant 17-year-old to be your queen, right? She's not making a case for why people are willing to resist the patriarchy, the lowest common denominator, to make sure not the lowest common denominator, the path dependency of patriarchy to support her. And I think the show needs to do that. more. And I feel like there was a lot of wasted opportunity to do that here.
So you don't think this is gonna pay off?
Yeah, I hope it does.
Right.
I just found this episode to be not as good as the second one.
That's fair. That's right.
Except for the fight, which was cool, but also stupid.
Yeah, I think it had low points, very low points. Especially with the I agree with you with the Rhaenyra stuff, but I also found a lot of high points with the Rhaenyra stuff. Mainly her like teenage stuff pisses me off. I agree with you, right? Just looking at it sometimes, but I feel like this is the one that's gonna pay off. I think this is gonna pay off, and it's gonna pay off really well. But as an episode, it didn't move the needle. I agree with you. It didn't move the needle. It didn't do anything that's like okay, because we have one more episode with her, right? In this phase before we get to the point where it's like this, if we're going to be introduced to a new version of her, how does this like what how do you fix, like how do you finish the story that this version is telling, right? And I think because of all the time jumps, because they're skipping a lot of time, right? I think this episode did a disservice by lingering in that in the anger phase of Rhaenyra. But I hope it pays off though. One more episode with hopefully one more, or maybe one more episode, or maybe two.
Maybe two, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's a lot of setup they still have to do,
mhm.
like before the core comp. Like this is a civil war, right? And
Yes.
I think that this episode did a pretty good job of showing like why people would want Aegon to be king, and not a good job showing why Rhaenyra. And maybe in the future, as you say, Mo, it will pay off. And I do agree. Like I think, like I get what they wanted here because I think it's a really great showcase for the actress's abilities. Like she's
Right.
really talented, and I hope Marvel or or DC or someone like snatches her up with like a contract and gives her like a strong character, like a strong
Mhm.
franchise. Because I think she's a strong enough actress to build a franchise around. Right? We'll see.
You think she twerks?
Oh my god. Well, hopefully. Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, you never
Right.
know.
Right.
But I as much as I appreciated the showcase of her acting,
Mhm.
I did not appreciate like that it was kind of a classic Game of Thrones trap, which is instead of advancing where it needs to get the characters to a certain place, but they
Mhm.
also are like we also have these awesome actors, so we're gonna just give them space to be awesome actors, and
Correct.
that kind of like didn't do it for me.
It lingered a little too much inside of that, you know. For me, what about Allison? I think Allison, or the actress, or Allison's character had a little progression, and it might be again the time jump. She's pregnant. She's a mother. She sees things differently. I thought she had a little progression. Otto, how did you feel about Otto? Because I think we agreed in the first episode he was one of the more interesting characters, right?
I think in the first episode he was really good. In the second one, I think he was a little like overshadowed, I guess, by the
Mhm.
like big moments of Rhaenyra and Daemon. I think it's clear like what his character wants now, right? Like he wants Aegon to be king, right? And that's the only thing he cares about, right? I mean, and it's coming from both. I think he always wanted that, but then you had his brother like being like, "You gotta deliver, like you gotta put our family on the
Right.
throne, right?" Because he's
On
the
the throne.
second son. His brother is the Lord of Hightower of the Lord of Old Town.
Mhm.
So I guess there's a lot of second sons or like second tier people fighting over the scraps, right? And I think you
Right.
increasingly get like he's going to go for it to make Aegon king. And I think Alicent is similar to her husband in this episode, is like conflicted,
Mhm.
right? She wants to make her father happy, which was clear, like as she seduced Viserys in the first two episodes. You have but she also doesn't feels they do a good job making it seem like she feels guilty that with Rhaenyra.
She chose, yeah.
And she doesn't want to like force Viserys to like make a
Make that
choice.
decision, yes.
And and she seems to like, I think the advice she gives him is pretty good, right? And it's
Yes.
pretty in his own best interest, I think. Like, and not necessarily in the best interest, because like I thought when she's like,
Yeah.
husband, can I talk to you about something? She's like, oh, she's gonna come for the Aegon thing, but instead she like helps him deal with something that is like a pressing crisis for him, which again shows that she's not as single-minded as her father about
Right.
this.
Right. And so I did appreciate that for her. So in contrast, I think Allison had a better episode than Renera. Viserys seems to be having a better showing than Damon. And I didn't think I didn't think that was going to be a thing, because I mean, I'm looking at Doctor Who and I'm researching Damon and I'm like, okay, he's about to just kill everything. Like, he's going to kill it. But not so much. I don't know if it's the way they're writing his story, or if it might be Doctor Who.
I don't know. I think, yeah. I mean, I think we said in previous episodes that like Matt Damon, Matt Smith is maybe not the best fit for like the character. Like his specific style of acting doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily fit like what I think the character is supposed to do. I thought he was better in this episode. I think he's a pretty decent action star. Like I think I think he sold the kind of he made me invested in the kind of stupidity of the action scene. Like the action scene was extremely well shot, but was
Mhm.
stupid, as we talked about, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a stupid action scene. Like it's very like Tom Cruise or James. It's like a James Bond, medieval James Bond action scene, right? Which is kind of weird for Game of Thrones, which is like, no man, like we have deep things to say about death and war. And it's like, nah, there's just this James Bond action scene. Cool. Like
Right.
literally. And I think Matt Smith sold it to me. Like I was invested enough. And I think he did sell that kind of like final moment where he sort of is dragging the corpse
Crap.
feeder
Hmm.
or crab feeder or whatever. Like,
Crab
so
fetus corpse.
crab
Corpse.
feeder, like,
You're right. Matt
so
Damon.
Matt Damon. Yeah. I think that he was better in this episode. I will see going forward though.
I don't know, not for me. He just felt the same. He felt very much the same. And the action scene was cool. Who was flying the dragon?
Well, there were two. I don't know who the other one was, but
Okay.
because they are it's his son. It's Corliss's son, and he
Hmm.
also has a daughter, right? Who in the books is a dragon rider. His wife is also a dragon rider,
Right.
so it could have been either of them. So I don't know who that, but they didn't do a very good job of establishing who the third dragon
Right.
rider in their little
Right.
army is. But it's
Right.
definitely his son is the one who like was the featured like
Cars.
Dracarys, right?
Okay. But yeah, so I mean, that's episode 3. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it felt very, even though it felt very short, right? It felt very short, and I think because they spent a lot of time in the woods, or in that like, and then the battle was really short
It was, yeah. I mean,
for a
it would
Game of
usually be a whole episode. Thankfully, it was not.
right,
I don't think it could
right.
have taken a full
I was
episode.
about to say, for a Game of Thrones, like, you fit everything and then a battle into kind of 2 battles, right? A mini one and then that larger one was all fit into 1 episode. That's amazing for a Game of Thrones show. But no, that's pretty much it. Um, thank you, Roy, for making the time this good Monday. Hopefully
Happy
you're
Labor Day.
enjoying. Yeah, hopefully you're enjoying your break. Uh, Wednesday we will be Thursday, right? Thursday we'll be back
We'll be
and
twerking our way.
twerking our way back, and then I think Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday.
We'll see how that works. But no, thank you so much. Game of Thrones, The House of Dragon, episode 3. What did you think about it? Let us know down in the comment section. Like, subscribe. We're not smashing the subscribe button today. That's reserved for Thursdays. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time for another discussion on House of Dragons. Peace.